Introduce myself. I'm Tracy Den. I'm a development associate at the Granada Theatre, and thank you guys so much for coming today. I'm going to give you a little bit of the historical nuts and bolts. The Granada was built in the early 1920s. The property that it sits on, believe it or not, was sold for $800, which when you think about, we have some multi-million-dollar condominiums for sale up above us is pretty something. So it was designed by A.B. Rosenthal, and he also designed the Los Angeles Theatre, and it was built by a gentleman named Charles Urton. Charles Urton had never built a high-rise building before, so he sent away for a how-to manual, how to build a high-rise. And it's the first steel reinforced concrete building in Santa Barbara. It is the tallest building in Santa Barbara. It's 119 feet tall, 8 stories tall. And he must have done a pretty good job, because the Granada opened its doors in April of 1924. But in 1925, we had a huge earthquake in Santa Barbara. And this is one of the few buildings that survived with just a little bit of cosmetic damage. So he was all proud. He had this big banner outside the Granada Theatre, built by Charles Urton. So the Granada, when it first opened, was primarily for live performances. We had Al Jolson on our stage, Ethel Barrymore, some real notable performances from the early 20s. And then in the 1930s, it was purchased by Warner Brothers, and so it became more of a movie theater. So the marquee, actually, that you see here today is what it looked like in the early 20s, but when in about 1940, since it was primarily a movie house at that time, they replaced it with a big neon kind of traditional movie marquee sign. And so it continued for most of its life until the restoration, if you will, mostly movies. We did have some live performances here, but it was mostly a movie house. And actually in the 1980s, it was owned by Metropolitan Theaters, and they actually turned this into a triplex. So they actually walled the balcony, walled that in, they divided the upstairs in half. So where there are 2 small movie theaters there, and then a larger movie theater down here. And so in the 1990s, a few of our local citizens decided that we had some burgeoning, really world-class art organizations that were starting to formulate in Santa Barbara, and that they deserved a proper home. So they developed a nonprofit organization called the Santa Barbara Center for the Performing Arts, with the idea and thought of restoring the Granada Theatre to the grandeur of what it was in the early 20s. And so they did. The deconstruction began in 2004, and our doors opened in March of 2008. So it was a 4-year process of construction. The whole thing was done with restoration and renovation, basically. So restore the Granada Theatre to take it back to what it looked like in the 20s, but also renovate it so it had all the modern amenities that today's audiences have come to want.